Hello, everyone. Welcome to Next Big Future. I'm your host, Brian Wong. Today, I'm going to talk about Tesla's safety lead and going to the next level of safety. I'll be going over various safety data, the safety scores, Autopilot, FSD, and all those other matters. So I'll be trying to answer the questions. Are Tesla cars safer and have they saved lives? Has Tesla Autopilot saved lives? Is the FSD beta safe? Will FSD, full self-driving, when it's fully released, will that be safe? Is Autopilot safe? How many lives would you expect to be saved by superior automatic lane keeping, which is what Autopilot does? I'm saying about 20-30% of traffic deaths. Will full FSD be safer? And can safety scoring, insurance, and FSD combined get more optimal usage out of FSD? I think most of those things will be answered in the affirmative, but I'll go over that. So to start with is Tesla's own self-reporting, where they give every quarter, where basically they say that about it's 3 times better in terms of like fewer accidents per mile with Tesla without Autopilot versus the US average. So instead of about like an accident every 450,000 miles, you'd have an accident every 1.5 million. And it's 9 times better using Teslas with an active Autopilot versus the US average, where they say that with Autopilot engaged, you'll have an accident every 4.3 million miles versus 450,000 miles of the US average. But there are people like people interviewed by some AI experts, interviewed by Emmett Peppers, who said that they don't believe those numbers and that they think that there'll be a problem even when FSD is fully realized, that people will use it even though it's imperfect. But anyway, we'll get into all those things in more detail. There is third-party data that I'll be going over that shows that this third-party US, UK data, not from Tesla, but from insurance companies, regulators, that shows fewer accidents and higher safety for Tesla. Also, I'll go over the fact that Tesla's come with safety features expected to reduce accidents by 30 to 50%. So the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration does say that various advanced driver assist systems, which are basically the most basic systems that Tesla provides for all cars, that those things should reduce accidents by 30 to 50%. And then for the FSD safety, there are many YouTube videos showing substantial improvement for FSD beta, showing large improvements over the last 8 months. And there have been no major accidents or deaths using FSD beta, even though there have been 100,000 people using it for the past 7 months. So insurance government systems in the US UK show Teslas are among the safest cars involved in the fewest accidents. US data shows about 40% below the average in the US for accident involvement when they get data by models of cars. This is a bit older data because it takes about 3 years to get by model data released. So 2017 data released in 2020, would show Model 3 being safer. And then now there's some slightly more up-to-date data that shows that Model Y is among the safest cars in terms of like involvement in accidents. I said self-reported data and those other benefits of showing fewer accidents. So Tesla includes all the regular driving assist safety features for free. Only about 20% of all US new cars have those safety systems all included, or you meant to pay extra for each of them piece by piece. So I'll go over that data. And there have been various studies, early studies, that show that Autopilot does increase safety, but those are early studies because again, it takes time to get all this out. So there were some studies in 2018, 2017 that showed that there was improvement, but that was an earlier version of Autopilot. Autopilot has continued to improve. So the other thing is that Tesla has the Tesla safety score, which encourages better driver behavior. There's 5 factors, such as don't follow too close, don't take too aggressive a turn, etc. And Tesla has its own data, which shows that those behaviors are safer, and they're able to monitor that behavior, and thus to give you a score from that. They have real-time insurance because Tesla offers their own insurance in Texas and many other places. But in Texas, they offer real-time insurance where they can reduce the price of the insurance you pay per month if you have Tesla insurance with a really good safety score. So if you have a safety score of 98 or something like that, then you'll have 60%, 50% less insurance costs than if you had a worse score of 90 or 80 or something like that. So this is motivating behavior that Tesla's monetarily is saying is 60% safer. They'll charge you 60% less if you get, say, a perfect driving score. And they'll back that up by saying, okay, we'll even give you insurance, based on that. So they're putting their money where their safety score is. And so this, they're monetarily incentive to get the safety score right. And so they'll, with the real-time pricing can motivate safer driver behavior. So they're running that experiment, which they're, backing up with their money. And the safety score can be adjusted to ensure future FSD monitoring if they find it's needed. They could include that in the safety score. So that would then motivate, safety score can be combined to motivate the right behavior in case people are getting lazy by trusting a nearly perfect FSD or something that seems quite perfect on first substantial usage. There's also, there was the information about Model Y being one of the safest cars. That's from the Insurance Institute of Highway Safety. Luxury vehicles among the model's lowest crashes in the country. So Audi 4, Tesla Model Y, Lincoln Navigator, and Porsche 911 all cause accidents at the lowest rates. And they have combined 38%, nearly 40% lower car accident involvement rate than the national average. Lexus CT, even though Lexus being a more expensive car, but being more of a sporty model, has the highest reported accident record, 69% greater than the national average. So national average is about 10% of accident involvement, like that. And the Lexus CT has something like 16%, 15% accident rate versus probably like a 6 or 7 for Tesla Model Y. There's also information from a Quote Wizard, where a Quote Wizard gives people quotes for auto insurance that find that Tesla Model 3 had among the least accident-prone cars. When people, they may be looking for a Tesla insurance, they go online to get insurance. They'll fill out a form saying, okay, have you report an accident on your driving record? And of course, there may be some, if you lie on that, they'll be able to validate against that. Or, if you find out you lied and you didn't have an accident, they would then invalidate your insurance. So based on those forms filling out, they find that Tesla Model 3 ranked among the 10 best cars for accidents. So both Model 3 and Model Y have these insurance industry related scoring that shows that they're among the least involved in accidents. And the UK car statistics, which were obtained by Freedom of Information Act to the UK Department of Transportation, that shows that the Teslas were among the involved in the least number of accidents by data by manufacturer. So only 28 accidents per 10,000 vehicles. And you can see that rapidly gets, the worst vehicles have almost 190 to 300 accidents per 10,000. So Teslas are over 10 times safer than the worst. And some of the worst were actually Mercedes-Benz that had, 6th and 5th for Toyota, 4th for Ford. So in the UK, data from the 2015-2019 period shows far higher safety for Tesla, 10 times better for Tesla versus Ford or Toyota. So ADAS, which is the Advanced Driver Assistance System, can change the driving assistance. Again, more data showing 30% reduction 27, 19% reductions from the stuff that's offered for free with all Teslas. But these systems for like lane keeping, backup, accident prevention, and stuff like that, they're all imperfect. I have some of those systems in a Subaru that I have, and it's not a perfect thing to help you keep lanes. But systems that do help with that do reduce accidents. It is a safety thing that has a lot of study and statistics behind it. And then this was the 2017 and 2018 studies showing that Autopilot provided certain benefits, the early forms of Autopilot, which are now superior. So this is again the further data that Autopilot helps reduce accidents. Insurance Institute. This is the details of the advanced driver assistance systems, how much they expect those systems, to reduce accidents. Up to half of the accidents can be avoided by the forward collision warning with auto brake, prevent you from rear-ending someone. Emergency braking to prevent hitting a pedestrian, blind spot detection, lane departure warnings, all have reduced accidents by various percentages. And the rear automatic braking to stop you from running into a person or an object behind you. So all these safety features are provided with all Teslas after September 2014. Emergency braking, for collision warning, side collision warning, obstacle aware acceleration, blind spot monitoring, lane departure avoidance, emergency lane departure avoidance, which is actually better than the standard set of ADAS. So they have a complete set. So this is how many cars have been registered with those features. You can see that rear cameras are probably only in half of cars. They expect it to be more than half of cars, about 2/3 of cars in 2026. We haven't got there yet. The rear parking sensors, the blind spot monitoring, less than 20% of cars. Front crash prevention, lane departure, all about like 15%. Automatic braking, adaptive headlights. These are all things that are in not many cars and not expected to be in most cars by 2026. And Tesla has had them in all cars since 2014. And these are expected to reduce accidents, probably about half. So Autopilot, so here's where, and this is something that all Teslas get for free as well, where they get auto steering and traffic aware cruise control. So it still requires you to make the lane change. But again, the improved safety around lane changing and with cruise control to prevent rear collisions and that kind of thing, those are major areas of safety, removing large categories of accidents. So again, this is what the Tesla reports in the fourth quarter. Self-reported was 484,000 miles for the average car versus these other numbers for Tesla. So there is safety data on my car, the model, but it tends to be a few years old because it takes time for someone to get that separated. Although I think with data analytics, we can get this pretty promptly, but that's not the case. So this is the source that said that the Tesla Model Y is among the safest cars with 38% lower car accident involvement. So this is that overall national average where you had the highest accident involvement for 2021 for cars. You see that the Toyota Prius involved a lot more accidents. The Lexus CT there, and the national average around just under 11%. So 38% less than that, and you'll be around like 7 or 8. This is analysis of 4 million car insurance applications. Sports car, among the least safe. Makes sense that people would drive faster and more recklessly. Sometimes would drive sports cars. And now we have the enhanced Autopilot. This is the Australian page, but it's been offered in the United States as well, where for $6,000 you'll get the Navigator Autopilot, auto lane change, auto park, auto summon, and smart summon. Everything except traffic light and stop sign control for full self-driving. So please hit the like and subscribe. That will really help the channel. So this is the Tesla safety score. The forward collision warning per 1,000 miles, hard braking, breath turning, unsafe following, forced autopilot disengagement. So, and this is the specifics of the insurance in Texas, where basically you get like a 98 score, safety score, then you get the $83 per month premium instead of like $130 for having bad safety score month, and potentially save for 6%. So clearly, Tesla believes that safe driving, according to their formulas, would reduce accidents by 60%. Teslas can be more expensive to insure, but it's not because of the number of accidents they have. It's because that when they do have an accident, it can be expensive to repair them. We'll see if that cost to repair changes over time. And then the Tesla insurance being the cheapest, and then State Farm, and then others. But Tesla has the data to back up their insurance. So they can underwrite and know exactly how unsafe an individual is versus many people. And then we talked about the enhanced autopilot, full self-driving capabilities. So basically, full self-driving is that autopilot lets you drive safely on highway, enhanced autopilot, and then full self-driving lets you drive safely on city streets. So then, in terms of like the distribution of accidents, some people might say, okay, well, things are a lot safer on highways, something like that, and actually that the highway city street accident rates are actually pretty similar. I think about 45% are in rural areas, not on highways, and 55% are on highways or cities. So you can see the distribution of where the accidents occur, where the deaths occur, freeways, collectors, arterial, etc. And then, where, accidents, intersections, etc., like that. So you can have a breakdown of where the accidents are occurring. With the death involvement, where someone gets killed, and then how much speed involved in accidents and death in car accidents. And then there's breakdown based on the miles driven, about 3 trillion miles of driving, and you have 38,000 deaths, and the breakdown between urban and rural. So it looks like it's about 33% rural versus 60% urban. So then here's some data for the robotaxi and self-driving companies. This is in California. So in 2021, 4 million total miles driven by all of these companies, but it was dominated by Waymo, 60%, 20% by Cruise, 10% by Pony AI. Pony AI is a Chinese company. Waymo is using about 100 vehicles. So the number of cars using full self-driving is 1,000 times more for Tesla than for Waymo. And Tesla's gathering data on 2 million cars that they have on the fleet, because all Tesla cars have the self-driving cameras and computer systems. But Waymo and Cruise are now not allowed to charge. They've been authorized by the California DMV, Department of Motor Vehicles, and the California Public Utility Commission in February 2022 to a charge, but this is limited. Cruise is only permitted to operate on city streets, a small geofenced area in San Francisco, only late at night, 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. That's the only time they're allowed to operate. So some late night driving. And they're only allowed to drive up to 30 miles per hour. So obviously only some surface roads. Waymo's allowed to operate over a wider area within parts of San Francisco and San Mateo counties. San Mateo being along the peninsula towards San Jose. And toward the airport allowed to go up towards the airport. They're allowed to operate with light rain and light fog. Cruise is, and the approved speed up to 65 miles per hour. So Dave Lee Investing just had a video with James Dalma. James Dalma worked on the Autopilot system for Tesla, and then in AI Expert. He said that he used full self-driving for a 67-mile drive on mountain roads with hairpin turns. The system did the correct braking to make the turns, smoothly decelerated to even 50 miles, very slow speed on a 55-mile overall highway. But, in order to make the turn safely, you had to drive down 15 miles per hour or 20 miles per hour, 25, depending upon the sharpness of the turn. And the thing made it, FSD, it was his Tesla Plaid, made the correct deceleration and acceleration and was very smooth. So he said this could be done with just GPS, could not be done with just GPS and a regular map. You require high definition maps to solve this particular drive, which Waymo does use. Waymo and Cruise do use high definition maps, so they could solve for it, but they need $200,000 worth of sensors versus the $20 cameras that Tesla is using. And he thinks there's limitation in the chosen path to solving full self-driving, the question of scalability and the business that they have. Because if it's taken them, over a decade to solve for a section of San Francisco and a section of Arizona, just around a 50-mile area around Tempe and some other small town in city in Arizona, and they can't go downtown, can't go to the airports and stuff like that. They very constrained the problem, and be difficult for them to expand. But they are looking to do highway driving with trucks and food delivery and stuff like that. So they could create a business out of it by conquering each niche as part of the solution. So he says that the FD version of competition is coming. They always say that the competition is coming for Tesla cars, and they also think the competition is coming for Tesla's full self-driving, and others will make a generalized self-driving work. But you really need millions of cars using the hardware, and Tesla has done that, and that's a huge, multi-billion-dollar commitment that they made, saying that we're going to gather the data, every car is going to have it. We'll build a over-the-air updates so that we can activate whoever chooses to activate it. Robotaxis tend to need $200,000 worth of hardware. Geofence means they're limited in the area that they're allowed to operate, and that doesn't translate to mass market because you can't take $200,000 worth of hardware and then get it onto all vehicles. If I can solve robotaxi with this expensive hardware in these expensive locations, it'll take a long time to go to mass market. But they could conquer city by city, San Francisco, New York, LA, Chicago, etc. But then if you have $300,000, $5,000 per vehicle, 1,000, million vehicles, would be $300 billion, $500 billion. So it's a very expensive approach that they're doing that doesn't scale well to the mass market. And then skip over some data which goes over where things that are unsafe. You see that old drivers, as you get past 75, get very unsafe, even more unsafe, past 80 than the young drivers. You get to 85. So this is something that, full self-driving would enable people who are very old or very young to drive more toward the safety level of regular middle-aged adults. And then this is how much the various ADAS systems, if they worked really well, might be able to get rid of those kind of accidents. There's another class of accidents that are unrelated to lane keeping or front-end collisions. You can see that most of the crashes problem is evenly split between lane keeping and forward collision, or a bumper, bumper style collisions, about half and half. And then there's some pedestrians, that's light blue, and then rear collisions are a small amount. So the total numbers of those things break out like this. But those free systems that Tesla gives have the potential to prevent, even if every car had them, save about 20,000 out of 33,000 deaths on the US. Lane keeping is the one that saves the most in terms of like deaths. Fender benders are about half of the, about as frequent an accident as a lane, an accident from leaving your lane, but the leaving your lane causes more deaths than in the fender benders. And then not hitting pedestrians, can save 4,000 lives. So you can see here that the number 2, the big blue, is that lane keeping assistance, which is the big preventer of deaths in car accidents. But for injuries, the having a bad fender bender can cause as many injuries as getting out of your lane, which is the blue. And in terms of so we have 35,000 deaths per year in the US, depending upon the year, and then about 1.7, actually 2.5 million injuries. So 1.7 is 60% of those can be avoided with just the driver assist, but you can get even safer, hopefully, with Autopilot and with FSD. It's also older cars that are involved in more accidents. So some of Tesla's improvement in safety is related to there being newer cars, that people drive newer cars more safely. And because Tesla's been rapidly increasing its car production, that most of their cars are actually within a year or two old. So you expect them to be safer. But there have been studies that show that, a driver using a Tesla versus using a non-Tesla, that they're safer with the Tesla. So the safety is still there, just not as pronounced of the effect if you don't factor in the new cars being safer. This is how that kind of breaks out for accidents, where you see that the 10 to 12-year-old cars, people tend to drive those less safely. So overall in the US, there's 230 million drivers, 30 million cars, driven about 3 trillion miles a year. And then in mid-2022, 1% of the cars in the US are EVs. We're now getting to about 3 million cars that are EVs in the United States. And also 4 million heavy trucks. That's Class 8 semi trucks and dumpster trucks. So some other statistics that speeding is the cause. So basically bad driving, which, those AI experts were worried about people getting too dependent upon FSD when it gets fully released, that if FSD is, better than an unimpaired, driver, then, it would automatically be avoiding, the issues of the speeding, tailgating, because of the fact that it's, programmed to drive in a more conservative way. And then also distracted driving, using a cell phone, that causes about 10% of deaths. And it increases, when you use your cell phone right from an accident, about 4 times, some studies say 10 times more likely to get into an accident when you do those things. So distracted, impaired, reckless, those things all vastly increase the accident rates and death rates. So also the 67 million reported crashes each year. There are 10 million unreported crashes in the United States. So there's even more crashes, but because they weren't, my car's not covered, or the accident is minor enough, I'm not going to claim insurance, those goes unreported. And then worldwide, roughly 1.3 million people die in car accidents worldwide. There's about 1.5 billion cars worldwide. And then road traffic accidents cause 50 million injuries in the whole world. So this the big thing to be able to save the deaths and save the injuries, if we can get this problem solved. So again, summarizing, there is statistics showing that in the US and UK, that Teslas are among the safest cars involved in the fewest accidents. 40% low in the US. Accident involvement in the UK had shown, even 10 times lower accident involvement per 10,000 vehicles for Teslas versus Ford and Toyota. Tesla self-reported accidents showing that 3 times fewer accidents, 9 times fewer when you're using Autopilot. And Tesla gave away for free a driving assist suite that should make their car 50% safer. That you expect that. So the data that shows that all Teslas, even without Autopilot, are safer, I would think would be because of the driver assist features that are included in all Teslas. And there have been various studies, insurance studies, et cetera, that show Autopilot safer and Teslas are safer. And then the Tesla's insurance scores and safety scores indicate that Tesla's encouraging safer driver behavior as well. So the cars are safer, the safety system is safer, and the safety scoring is encouraging safer driving behavior, which should all substantially reduce the number of accidents that Teslas have. And safety scoring can be adjusted as Tesla finds the data that shows that something else needs to be put in there to modify behavior. They can add that. So if FSD is fully released, and then people, are not paying attention, they need to pay attention at a certain point, and then Tesla can add in safety scoring or some other monitoring behavior to ensure that that the driver paid attention when he needs to. So then if you combine all safety features, Tesla safety features, all the ADAS systems, safety scoring, and Autopilot, I think, it can make things 4 times safer. And then all Tesla safety features, safety scoring, and FSD, I think should be 10 times safer, if not better, with a more advanced FSD. So thank you for listening. That's Teslas and car safety. Again, please like and subscribe, support me on Patreon, and talk to you next time.